The little thing spinning like it's trying to get on the internet, like it's stuck. Like it's stuck. Right. Welcome. It's 6 p.m. in Dallas, Texas. It is May 11th. It is 2021. And I am hosting a podcast live. And the name of the podcast is Law and Disorder, or better known as Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder. And the reason it's called Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder is not particularly for any egotistical reasons. It's because after I started Law and Disorder on the radio back in the day, somebody took the name during a lull, and so I had to rename the podcast or the show Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder to distinguish myself from those other phony bastards. Hello, Lisa, Mark, and Kathy. Yeah, I thought it was stuck because it doesn't show you're on the internet. It's just spinning and spinning. All right, everybody, welcome. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, simultaneous with a podcast on Facebook, you may be wondering, who's he talking to? Who's this Lisa, Mark, and Kathy person he's talking to? Well, it's Facebook people, your YouTube people, and you're all welcome to use the comment section for greetings and salutations or other pertinent comments. The only prohibition: don't talk to each other and don't piss me off. All right. So I've given a lot to how to magnify the attraction of a podcast. And I've been thinking about it, and I realized this afternoon that one of the things that has stymied me, one of the reasons why I feel unprepared most days, is because the news has gotten monotonous. It's mostly bad news, and I don't see the point in me getting exaggeratedly upset or you getting any more upset than we already are. And I tell you something, it is a weird vibe going on. Today on Facebook, I think only Kathy noticed, I posted two different shootings of cops that took place in the last like 24 hours. I think it was 4 dead cops, Texas and somewhere else. Anyways, whatever it was, they were shot. And so I took my shots on Facebook in my news thing. I took shots at the NRA, Ted Cruz, Wayne LaPierre. And typically, you would think, since back when I was a pro-gun advocate and my liberal friends despised me, or at least despised my politics, and others thought I was very reasonable, my pro-gun people, I would thought I would stimulate some interest in what I was saying, but I didn't. I mean, Kathy noted it, and that was it. They fell like a lead balloon, right? Okay. So I thought about it, and that's a political post. Whereas when I was posting pictures of me and I don't know, Jerry Spence, or me when I was 7 or something like that, people seem to be eager to react. So I'm like, yeah, maybe we're all kind of burning out on politics, but there's a politic that can't be ignored. Uh, there's a lot of politics can't be ignored. For instance, the rise of Trump in the post-Trump presidency era, continued acclaim of a Ted Cruz, a Kevin McCarthy, a Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, that these people get any airtime with their little scummy selves is really, it's really tragic, but it's noteworthy, right? Because we felt, and we being liberals, and I think a lot of conservatives felt that, once there was an election and somebody else was elected, gratefully, that would begin to take the air out of this balloon we call Trumpism. But it didn't. Um, it didn't at all. I mean, politically, he's alive and well, uh, maybe living in Mar-a-Lago instead of the White House, but people are going and kissing his ring like he's John Gotti, right? So he's out there and they're out there. Ted Cruz is from my state, Texas. Ted Cruz is like despicable human being. I mean, it's just, as far as humans go, somebody said he had, I think they were talking about him. No, they're talking about Lindsey Graham, said he had zero integrity. And I thought, giving him credit for having zero integrity almost seems like a pat on the back, considering what a slime ball Lindsey Graham is. But he'll get elected, and Mitch McConnell gets elected, Kevin McCarthy gets elected. They're all going to be reelected because there's this cadre of millions of people who enjoy what they are offering. They're eating what they're feeding. They're drinking what they're serving. So, um, so from that perspective, as that news unfolds on a daily basis, it becomes it's a revisiting of the Trump era. I watch more news than most people. There's a reason for that, not because I'm ecstatic about knowing what the news is. It's because when I'm sitting at my computer, which I often am when I'm home, the easiest thing to have on is the news because you don't have to watch it. If I was doing my show, the show I like, Ridiculousness, you got to look to enjoy it. It's videos of people screwing up. If you want to watch any of the shows, Blacklist or whatever, you sort of got to pay attention. And during the day, I don't pay attention. At night, I pay attention. After the podcast, I lay down, I start watching stuff I've recorded. During the day, I have on MSNBC, NBC, CNN. And so I hear a lot of news, and I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it, but it's monotonous. Yes, it is the continuing drama that was initiated under Trump. And yes, it's important that none of us be blind to the perils of Trumpism. It's a dangerous thing. It's fascist. It's anti-constitutional. And what the Republicans are doing right now to strip Democrats of their right to vote in local elections, statewide elections, national elections, what they're doing to the Congress, shutting down any movement by the Biden administration. These things are absolutely despicable, and I hope you all are tuned in to just what is going on and how bad it is. But that said, should somebody deign to come on at 6 p.m. and do a podcast to a small group of people generally who probably don't need to be bummed out? Okay, so let's say that I resign myself, that this does not need to be a political diatribe. I watch the news. I'm getting the news. I could recap the news for people at 6 p.m. But it's all a bummer, man. It's just a bummer. So what I do during the day doesn't do well to prepare me for the podcast. Now, there was a portion of time when I was doing bicycling and stuff, but I bicycled Friday a long distance, and I got on here Friday night, toasted out. Saturday, I didn't bike. I guess because I was just tired from Friday. Sunday, I was again exhausted. Then Monday, I'm ready to bike. The weather was not conducive, and I was trying to wrap up my coloring book. And then today, pouring. I mean, when I got off of here at 6:45 yesterday, I was sitting here still, and all of a sudden, it seemed like it got bright out. It was lightning and thundering. For a short period of time, it was thundering, thunder of such magnitude. I leaped out of my seat. The electricity cut off. And by the way, this was a challenge. You all know I announced to you. Thank you, Kathy, for asking. I will report on that. Thank you. I forgot. Um, You all, if you were listening last night, you know that I was trying to kick out this book, this photo album, and I had till I think 7 p.m. That was the 24-hour deadline. Now, having told you that they were offering me a 5% discount, I don't want you to think poorly of me, but I'm a cheapskate, and on $100 bill or whatever it was that they were going to charge, I wanted that 5%, and I didn't want to fight for it. And two, I thought, let's make this a marathon and get it done because it's draining. So what I did was I finished it. I got off the podcast. I found two more photos. I quickly downloaded and did the deal. You already know how complicated that is. There was about 11 minutes to go or something like that. I was just going to check out. You hit the button, says check out, pay for it and complete it. And the electrical went off. Just like that and on again. Okay. TV had to reboot because I'm on a satellite. This had to just went off. I had to turn it back on and reboot. All the clocks were showing the wrong time. And I'm like, well, how long will it take to reboot? And I got in with about, I don't know. I had minutes to spare to purchase that book, but I did. And I would share it with you, except for one thing. I shared it with my sister. And when she got the link, and it says you can share this digitally with your friends. And I thought, well, that's nice until I get the book. Kathy's going to see the book in person when we get together in June. But everybody's not going to be at the Hyde Park soiree in June. So you're not all going to necessarily see the hardbound. So I thought, well, okay. So as a kind of a test, I sent it to my sister thinking to myself that she will be interested because there's a lot of pictures of her and my mother and my sister and my father in there. So, and then with some confidence, I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to send it to my friend Carrie, who's my oldest and dearest friend, and his daughter, because her mom is included. And then I sent it to Radine Corsi because Gary's in it. And then I open up myself and I'm like, this is not the pictures. This thing that I hit digitally was not the photographs that I loaded. It was the original digital random photographs that they had offered. So I'm in a panic. I sent a message and said, please, I did not intend to send you a picture of my toes at my pedicure. That was one of the pictures, literally, picture of my toes right after the pedicure, me and my daughter. That's fun to put on Facebook at, after you've done it, like, hey, take me out. Me and my daughters went and got a pedicure. That is not a sentimental photograph that I want to retain and pay money to, sentimentalize into a book. So I sent a message out, hey, cancel that. That's not what I intended to send. So at this moment, I don't, and so my sister, she got it. She and I were talking. She opens up. It's like little things. She can't tell what half the pictures are, and she can't tell what any of the comments that I made, the editing. It was worthless. Worthless as tits on a bowl. All right. Hi, Chris. Hi, Rachel. Kathy Payne. Thank you. So yesterday was pretty bad, better than the day before, but it was still difficult. And I did ice it. We talked about icing it. Ann Sisler, I think, said ice it. I knew to ice it. So I iced it. And then I got up this morning and I lead a meditation in person at 6:30 a.m. So I have to leave the house by like 6:15. I have to get to this building. I actually have to unlock the building because nobody wants to get up for me. And so I open on, and then we do the meditation for 25 minutes. And then I led a 12-step meeting. And then I went to breakfast with some guys. And then I came home and I kind of fell out. And then I'm like, it started pouring like crazy. But here's the thing. The pain seems to have diminished enough that I was able to go to this meeting and get up the stairs pretty comfortably with just a little bit of, you know what I mean? But coming down the stairs was not fun. So I had to walk sideways. I finally I felt like I was going to go nuts in here. I went out to go grocery shopping, um, and it wasn't too bad. Most of the time, it's really not too bad. Of course, let me tell you, people, if you're a grocery shopper like I am, if your mother cut coupons like mine did, and you collect coupons and you use them, don't leave them at home. If you're going to the grocery store to buy groceries and you have coupons, here's a here's a tip. Here's a consumer tip. And now for a consumer tip from our consumer reporter Kim Goldberg. Don't leave the freaking coupons at home. All right. Then what I decided was I was going to go to the dentist because after they put that crown, what they call it, temporary crown in, I've had some issues, right? I went in. She was lovely, by the way. Smile Bar Dallas, it's called. And she's right next to my hair cutter. And here's the thing hardly anybody noticed. I got a major haircut today. Right after I left the dentist, I just walked into Hughes Salon, another good place, and said, let's do something. This thing's tickling my eyes. Here's my face. Remember I told you yesterday I felt bad because I kept playing with my ear because the hair was in my ear? Not anymore. So the pain is getting better and I'm getting worse, but the pain is getting better. Hi. Did I say hi? All right. So the weather here has been sucky. Seasonal affective disorder. When there is a lack of sunshine for a period of time, people can suffer from something called seasonal affective disorder. Sad. I am vulnerable to it, but not typically with like 3 days of rain like we've had. That would normally send me into a tailspin, but it did. It sent me into a tailspin. And I don't know why these 3 days have been so much worse. And it wasn't just weather. I had to stay in on one nice day because I was working on the photos and stuff. So I don't know what's going on. So, anyways, I back to the very beginning of this show, okay, when I said I don't think the news is that I don't think recapping the news, at least not consistently recapping the news. I mean, how many times can you throw Ted Cruz under a bus, roll over him 2, 3 times, and get away with it, right? I wish I only could do it just one time and it would be done, one and done, right? Wow. I mean, what a freak of nature, man. Truly. But then a lot of Republican politicians are freaks of nature. I mean, I talked to 3 Republican friends today, and they all agreed that we need some form of gun control, some new measures. And what we certainly didn't need is what Texas is doing, which is relaxing gun regulations. So I'm talking about even a friend who supported Trump. I'm talking about very truly fiscally conservative, socially moderate, not socially liberal people who think that, you know, that relaxing gun laws is crazy. They're not particularly necessarily advocates of more gun regulations, but they're certainly not in favor of loosening what regulations we have. And so again, the news is miserable. I cited a statistic on Facebook today. I don't know how many shootings, 100 and something shootings in a, was a 24, 40-hour span. I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you it's dramatic and it's carnage. And, I ask Republican friends the following question. What motivates somebody like the Texas legislature to loosen gun regulations at a time when people are being killed and I mean almost massacred left and right? Now, I could relinquish my gun if everybody relinquished their gun. I've been reluctant to say something like that, but you know what? Yeah, it's you know it's so much safer when everybody's not armed. I don't know how this country got so twisted up that we felt that the country was safer with 300 million guns. I think we didn't expect it to go to 300 million. But since Obama stimulated gun sales without doing anything, he sold millions of guns. It was a payday for the gun industry. Hillary just running for office was another payday because they assumed she would win because Trump was so crazy. And yet he won. And gun sales plummeted for a while. And then they saw that he was, and this is the truth. Okay, so gun sales were plummeting the first year or so when Trump was in office because the NRA had nothing to stimulate fear because Trump was so pro gun in his verbal manifestation. But then what happened was um, they saw that he was kind of pushing towards civil war. And so they rushed out to arm themselves again before the Civil War. Nobody wants to be left unarmed during the Civil War. So my conservative friends not only ran out and bought guns, man, they bought ammo like there's no tomorrow. I One day I decided I'd like to go shooting and get some ammo, and I couldn't get any ammo. I was with my little brother Ricky. We were talking about going to the gun range because we usually do that at least once when we get together. No, man. I mean, I had some very high end firearms, handguns that I was giving him, and they're not the most common calibers. They're more designed for they're specialty guns. The rounds in them tend to be not they're not unusual rounds, but maybe the argument is they're popular rounds. Maybe that's what I should have said. And they're just like 9 millimeter. I sold them a couple of 9 millimeters, gave them a couple of 9 millimeters, and then I went to get us some ammo at Cabela's. They didn't have a box. I went to so what is it? Academy Sports. Nothing, man. It's just so if you called the range, they said, "Well, we have ammo to sell, but you have to shoot it here." Well, and that's fair. I understand why they're doing that, but there's a premium to be paid, and you got to sign up to shoot. So. Um, we just didn't go shooting, but he's also got a 45 Win Mag that I think I bartered them for these congas here, right? A 45 Win Mag that was customized. It was a Grizzly, LAR Grizzly 45 Win Mag with a 357 Magnum change out barrel, plus the clips. It's a really incredible firearm, and I was pleased that Ricky wanted it, but we couldn't find any freaking ammo so he could go to the range. We couldn't find 357 Magnum or 45 Win Mag. It was crazy. And he would like to shot it. He had never had it. Here I am. I gave him the 3, the LAR Grizzly, and I gave him some other stuff. Anyways, so I digress. Um, yes, it's like the Wild Wild West again. So here's the thing: is it like the Wild Wild West? In that, do I, Ken Goldberg, or any of you, how much would you need a firearm? Now, I bicycle into some really sketchy areas, and sometimes it doesn't matter whether I'm a sketchy area or not. I've been threatened on my bicycle. I've had cars threaten me. So I'm going to carry a gun on the bicycle because I'm not going to die because I was unarmed. We had a guy that was uh, attacked just jogging on the bike trail and murdered for no reason. It was a random attack, and he was killed. And we've had people beaten and robbed and stuff, and so I'm ready for that. But how much do I need it? Need it? Um, I can anticipate, but how many times have I needed it in the past? So projecting in the future, I could possibly need it. That's possible. It may be probable because, like I said, when I'm just cruising by myself, I go off into parts of Dallas I just don't even know. I just South Dallas. I just find myself suddenly I've been zigging and zagging on a Sunday morning and found myself being the only white person on a bicycle or on the street. Which doesn't mean I'm in danger. It just means, I found the south side of Dallas, and, some people may not agree with the way I found it. But again, I can navigate these things. The better part, I, I have never been attacked in South Dallas. I've never been attacked in East Dallas. I haven't been attacked. The only time I've been attacked is actually in North Dallas. The only time I've encountered a significant difficulty wherein I threatened to use my gun, actually, they were pretty much there was a guy in a Porsche, so he wasn't a poor mother. A couple of people in my bars, young white guys, and I've some bubbas that came to my gun range to extract a piece of equipment that they were doing it wrong, right? So could I have gotten through all those encounters without a gun? I believe at worst I would have taken an ass whooping. I don't think I would have died in any of those encounters, but I'm not into taking no ass whooping. Just be really clear on that. So I did dissuade people by presenting a firearm and explaining to them my preferred methodology of resolving violent conflict is to shoot the other person. I'm convincing it worked. But at this point, um, balance my personal interest against society, and I'm of the opinion now that society is in such peril from the prevalence of guns and the crazy people that are shooting up schools or birthday parties or just innocent bison, whatever it is. Maybe in an effort to participate in the common good, I can revisit it. Now, I've already been selling off my guns. I've sold off some of my rifles. I've given or sold off handguns. I'm ready. I'm ready to resign from the I'm an avid gun collector society. I'm willing to actually unfriend anybody that's overzealous about gun ownership. I'm just I don't own the gun range anymore. I don't have a gun store anymore. I don't need to be zealous in my advocacy of firearm ownership. So what did I say? Fireship? Maybe that's good. I'm come up with my own words. So so that's been on my mind, and I posted. And why is there no interest, to so to speak? Um, why aren't the I know the Democrats need to be careful because every time they open their mouths, the NRA makes millions of dollars from conservatives. They go, oh, there go those Democrats again, trying to take away our guns. They've never learned how to control the argument around gun regulations. The Democrats have done a horrible job of controlling the debate, the argument, the discussion about the policy and regulations around gun regulations. And so that may be a dead horse I can't beat. So then back to, well, so what does a podcast do? What can you achieve? What motivates people to tune in? Well, the original motivation was pandemic. Pandemic meant a disruption to your community and my community. It meant a disruption to connection, human contact. And so I tried to fill some of the void by creating the podcast. The pandemic is loosening. It's not still everywhere. That's why it's still called a pandemic. But I'm double vaccinated. I had dinner on Saturday night, Friday night, with two other guys who had been vaccinated indoors. I'm beginning to do things that are pre-pandemic. I'm still cautious. I go to the dentist. I had my mask on. You got to remove it before they do the work. I went to the barber shop, the hair salon, and actually I stepped out of the dental shop, put the mask away, got to the hair salon, walked in, and then I said, oh, I was taking my jacket off to sit down. I said, oh, I don't have my mask. And she said, don't worry about it. Well, sometimes I wore the mask during the pandemic, but it's hard for her to cut around the hair straps. But we worked with it. But this time she's like, no, I think people are less afraid of people like me because they know we've been vaccinated. But still, there is a significant uh, minimizing of the terror that was so prevalent during the height of the pandemic. And while we all should, if you don't, you should have anxiety about the variants and how the variants may overtake everything we've done. At this moment, looking at Fauci talk, looking at all the experts, real experts, they all are saying it's getting better. That we need to do certain things, we need to keep up certain things. That's another thing. Talking about news, Fauci was testifying, and that Paul Rand or whatever his name is, that sleazy politician from Virginia, who's an eye doctor. He was attacking him. He was lying about him and telling him that Fauci supported the Wuhan lab that's suspected of releasing the virus. And what it is, if you don't know, is that the National Institute of Health gives out grants. And in the course of giving out grants, and Fauci is associated with the National Institute of Health. He's in charge of epidemiology, right? They gave a grant of several million to another organization, and that organization gave some of the money to the Wuhan lab for additional research. The NIH, Fauci never gave a nickel to this organization. They act like he's a money launderer now. Like what he did was he gave it wink, wink, nod, nod to this organization so they'd give the Chinese, so the Chinese kill off the United States. I think Rand is another. I mean, when I talk about Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, and Matt Gaetz, and all those guys, Gates, whatever his name, you should probably always throw Rand's name in, because he's a sleazeball too. I'm still a bit uncomfortable getting on a plane, but I will have to go to Chicago. And all my friends who have flown on planes, Kathy, are okay. Ricky's flown on a plane. He came down here once. He went to Puerto Rico once, and he went to Louisiana once. So he's flown 3 times that I know of since the pandemic started. And he hasn't had a problem. My friend Elaine has flown to California a couple of times. A lot of people have been flying. If you take the precautions, you're probably right to be uncomfortable. As Elaine said when she flew, and she's a PhD in nursing, she said that the airplane wasn't so bad, but they dumped her into an airport that was crowded with people. That was during the height of the pandemic. I think once you're inoculated the 2 times, and once you get on the plane and wear your mask reasonably and try not to get breathed on directly by the person next to you, stuff like that, I think I'm confident actually that you'll be okay. I've been in much more close proximity to disease than you, Kathy, and I have always approached the outside world with some hesitancy during this entire pandemic. I've had some responsibilities. It was the master ceremonies over a large, I call it large, memorial, and I've been at some dinners in some places with a lot of people, and people weren't adhering to mask requirements as much as I was, but I seem to be okay, which is not to say that you'll be okay. Everybody's immune system is different. My immune system's probably in as good a shape as anybody because I'm out bicycling. I'm getting a bunch of vitamin D normally, not in this rain, and because I eat a lot and I bike a lot. I think that helps create my immunity bubble if there's such a thing. And maybe I even have the blood type that's because I haven't got it. But I've had a number of friends, and Becky's chiming in that she flew a few weeks ago from South Bend to Dallas. So she drove up there with Chris, I assume, and flew back, and it was okay. So Kathy, I wouldn't spend any time being anxious about this coming flight. Let's just do it. Kathy and I are probably going to meet in Hyde Park and with whoever else, Aurora Alfaro, and whoever else we can call to the tribal gathering. We've done it once a year. I've done it once a year for about 20 or 25 years, except for the pandemic interrupted it. So, the pandemic, the pandemic is still here, but we, as a community, don't have as much anxiety as we did. There was a time when I began this when we were talking about leaving your groceries outside the house. And okay, so a couple good questions. Um, Becky flew into Terminal E, which was not crowded, of course. Kathy's flying in and out of Florida somewhere, so Terminal E won't be in her route. What about people with J&J vaccine? Are they as immune as you? And then Becky says, double vaxxed and mask required. They also handed us all wipes as we entered the plane. So, Mark, uh, here's what Fauci seems to be saying, and this is who I take my cues from. The J&J vaccine was never going to be as effective based on the epidemiological studies that were going on. It was never going to be as effective as Pfizer. But the two things that were significant about J&J was it didn't require the freezing cold temperatures, thus it was going to be able, and it was one shot. What Fauci is now seemingly saying is that they're finding all the vaccines, Moderna, J&J, and Pfizer are all seemingly coming in at a higher efficiency rate than they actually anticipated. So even if J&J was not as effective initially as Pfizer, the fact of the matter is it's still effective and it's more effective than they anticipated. So I'm confident. I have some friends that were J&J'd, and I'm not. I don't have any concern about their health. I would have got the J&J if I hadn't got the Pfizer, but I was waiting for the J&J. I thought there was a real advantage to a one-shot vaccine, but my friend Elaine, she's like, you need to get the shot as quick as you can, whatever you can, and J&J hadn't been approved yet. I was going to wait for it. So I don't know if they're as immune as I. First off, I just pointed out I'm kind of maybe an exception in some regards, but is J&J as effective as Moderna and Pfizer? Probably not. Is it effective enough for those persons to participate in society, especially at the level that we're operating at now? I think absolutely. Double vax and max required. Becky, how did they require you to be double vaxxed? I understand an airline can require masks, but how did they check double vaccine? Did they actually ask you to show proof of vaccinations, or you just were unwilling to fly until you were double vaccinated? And what if it's J&J? There is no double. Did that serve just as well? Consumer Reporter wants to have answer this. Oh wait, Consumer Reporter. No, I should be the medical reporter now. Yes. Okay, your medical reporter, Ken Goldberg, checking in now, has answers and questions. So hopefully we'll get more information from Becky. I haven't flown, but most I just don't fly unless it's essential, unless it's necessary. Like time is of the essence, the distance is too far. That's about it. So I'll be going to Chicago either in the end of May or sometime in June, and I will be driving in my van. I would do that anyways because I want to take my bicycle everywhere. But I'll be driving up there and I'll be driving back. And I'll probably go to Tucson some more now that the curse has been lifted. And I'll ride a van. I think that driving in the van, you need to understand driving, I doubt is significantly safer than flying. I feel safer because I can't fall out of the air. But, I'm guessing up. Um, it was you. You wouldn't travel until you were double vaccinated. Okay. Yeah. All right. I get you. I get what you mean. You wanted that comfort. And Kathy will have been fully vaccinated when she flies later this summer. So good. Okay. So I handled the pumps I'm pumping gas. How many people before me? Some people are still wearing a little rubber glove when they pump gas, and then they're throwing the glove out when they're done. Um, Kathy, I sent you the thing. So if you're asking me, Kathy's asking me if Aurora, who I said was part of this powwow, was going to be in Chicago in July. And so, excuse me for a minute. Kathy, I sent you her schedule. That's as much as I know. She put in the times that she will be available in Chicago. All right, back to my original contention. So I'm riding. I'm going into gas stations. I'm using the gas station bathrooms. I'm buying food in gas stations, and so I was exposed, consistently exposed. But I kept some sanitizer in the car. I didn't always remember to use it. Um, and yeah, I tried to use it after I handled the pump, but I didn't always handle the pump. So when in July? And good question. I actually don't think it's July. I actually think it was June. So let me tell you exactly what I said to Kathy. Oh my gosh, Kathy, I'm embarrassed. I thought it was June. It's July. No wonder you asked me about July. Hush my puppies, girl. July 22nd through August 2nd, or September 24th through October 4th is the time when Aurora will be in town, and she's been there every year since I started doing this, except 1 year. So, of everybody I powwow with, the reason I'm looking at Aurora's schedule is because I she has been as loyal to me in this gathering, more loyal than anybody else has been. She was there every single year. Now she's got grandkids. She goes back and forth to Denver all year long, helping take care of her little grandkids. That's why I needed her schedule. And I sent it to Kathy, and I'll post it. I apologize. I made it sound as if June was the powwow. It's either July or late August. Or yeah, I don't know, or September. I don't know. Whatever I said. I keep hand sanitizer in my car. I use it every time I gas. I try to remember. I didn't always remember. So the bottom line, Chris, Becky, Kathy, Ann, all you people, Mark and Ann, I think that, the real compelling, that which compelled me to initiate the podcast was the pandemic. I certainly enjoy touching base with y'all. This is 45 minutes a day when I don't have a pistol in my mouth. Okay, that's a real nice thing, because if if 48 hours of rain and wind can make me as depressing as it is, um, I shouldn't be trusted to be left alone for hours on end. I have a variety of contributing factors to this situational depression that I've reported to you people before. And this period of time I spend podcasting usually ameliorates any sensation of depression. It may resume 20 minutes after I finish podcasting, or it may wait until the next day. Whatever it is, this 45 minutes is immune from depression, because this 45 minutes of communicating with lovely people, sharing, like, look what we just did. We just navigated travel in the time of the pandemic and how we're modifying our attitude towards it and being able to plan. This was absolutely inconceivable 12 months ago when the world was shutting down, or 6 months ago before we were able to get immunized. So, what a transition. What a transformation in the dialogue, in the comments, in my response, in my reaction. Now, I'm not on board with foregoing masks everywhere. I'm not an anti-masker. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I think that based upon what the medical community is repeatedly saying, and when I say repeatedly, do you understand what I mean? Over and over and over again, is that we should still be wearing masks in any of the situations that require it, such as close quarters with people that have not been immunized, okay? Poorly ventilated locations. Keep your mask on. When you are around people you don't know whether they've been vaccinated or not, when you're going into the stores and such, I always, I got, I got my mask, right? So we still going to adhere to, or I'm going to adhere to these policies, these recommendations. And I say that because recently I was in Arizona and they don't have a mask policy at my 12-step group. And they're beginning to remove mask requirements at the 12-step group I go to here. They just had a meeting last night and they decided to allocate one of the rooms for non-maskers. That's the first time they've done that since May 16th. They're allocating one of the rooms. I'm going to stay in the room with the people. You'll be required to have a mask in that room. But there is pressure on for people to stop masking or make spaces, make it possible for people who just don't want a mask, not because they're vaccinated, they simply don't want a mask. Okay, so I'm not changing. Kathy, there is hope. There is hope. Thank you. Yes, Chris, it is getting to be meta time, so let's do it. Let's do the meta thing because I went overtime already. So anybody who's listening, and you haven't even revealed yourself. Maybe Joan is out there. She likes to hide in the bushes till last minute. You know, whoever may be eavesdropping, I welcome you to greet me in the comment section. But I'm going to explain meta. Meta is a Pali word. It's loosely translated as loving kindness. And at the end of every podcast since the beginning, we've been practicing reflecting on goodwill and good and loving kindness. And it's done like this. I ask everybody to bring their hands together before their heart and to bow their head and to close their eyes. To take a deep breath, relax. And then I ask you to think to yourself, may I be happy, healthy, free from harm, free from anger, anxiety, and fear. May this practice of bringing metta to ourselves result in greater peace and comfort in our lives. May my mother and father, all my living family, and all my friends be happy, be healthy, be free from harm. May they know the affection I have in my heart for them, and may they too find a path that leads them to greater peace and comfort in their lives. And to those persons I may resent or harbor any ill will towards, whatever difficulties, let me set that aside so I can send them goodwill. So these persons, think who it might be, may they be happy, healthy, and free from harm, enjoying their lives in peace and comfort. And to all living beings throughout the universe, may they be the recipient of our collective goodwill, which emanates from our hearts in this moment. Imagine that every living creature, humans and non-humans, be the recipient of our affection. May all living beings be happy, healthy, free from harm, living out their lives in safety, comfort, and peace. Satu, Satu, Satu. No, is The Viper a movie? Tammy, you got Pfizer. Good job. Well, thank you, Kathy. And Joan, I knew you might be in the bushes, girl. Yeah. Is The Viper a movie, Mark? Is it on TV? Is it like Netflix or something? Is it a TV show or a movie? You got to tell me. Got to tell me. I got to know where to look for it. So this wraps up another episode of Law and Disorder. I hope you grasped my willingness, my eagerness to transition into something that's uh, maybe even post-pandemic for you, something that will, continue to feel good, to make you want to be a part of this community for 45 minutes a day, or some portion of that 45 minutes. Well, thank you, Anne and Lisa. The Viper is a person. What is he saying? What is he saying? I don't know. That mark. The Viper will come to you. Yikes. Oh, Chris and Becky, thanks for checking in tonight. You know, and Anne, rein in Mark. He's being cryptic again. Okay? Help me, Lord, and help me, Anne. We had two Anns, one Kathy, one Lisa, one Chris, one Becky. Tammy, thank you for popping in. Thank you all. And Rachel. Rachel's probably out there too. Good night. And sleep tight.